Greetings, my name is RJ Paul Iberia. I am a second year AB Political Science student from the Western Institute of Technology, and today I am going to discuss the Article 11 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution. So the Article 11 is also known as the accountability of public officers. So it is very important that the ones who govern us must be a law-abiding citizens, and they must, because they are the role models of our people, they represent us, they represent the people. So it is very vital and important for them to follow the rules and laws of the land. So in this part of the Constitution, we would be able to know the punishments or the penalties that the law states to those public officials who commit such crimes. We would be able to know first what is the meaning or the definition of public office according to the Constitution. So, according to the Article 11, Section 1 of the 1987 Constitution, public office is a public trust. Public officers and employees must at all times be accountable to the people, serve them with utmost responsibility, integrity, loyalty, and efficiency, act with patriotism and justice, and lead modest lives. This actually means that the public officers, as what I have said, must live their modest lives, must be responsible, and must be a trustworthy role models of our society. Because they are the ones who occupy the seats, therefore it is their responsibility. Next is impeachment. So what is an impeachment? An impeachment is a process by which persons who possess positions in the government can be held accountable for causes closely related to their conduct as public officers. So impeachment is one of the ways that a public officer, especially those who are in the higher authority or in the higher office, this punishment or this type of punishment is the only way that they would be removed from office if proven that they had committed a crime. Because we all know that a public office is a public trust. Therefore, if the public is no longer confident, the impeachment process or the impeachment can be made. So it is provided in the section 2 of the Constitution who will be or who are the officers that can be impeached or removed from office. So this position or this office are one of the highest posts in the government. So they are the following: the President, the Vice President, members of the Supreme Court, members of the Constitutional Commissions, and the Ombudsman. So one example of which officer that had been recently impeached is the former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Renato Corona. So it is also very important that we know the basis or the grounds for impeachment. They are provided in the section 2 of the Article 11. So first is the culpable violation of the Constitution. Second, treason. Third, bribery. Fourth, graft and corruption. Fifth, other high crimes. And sixth, or the last, is the betrayal of public trust. We should also take note that all other public officers and employees may be removed from office as provided by law, but not by impeachment. So those public officers that are not mentioned in the list it doesn't mean that they are also exempted from being punished when they are doing such crimes. So the law also provides for the other public officers that commit such crime in order for them to be held accountable. So what is the process of impeachment? First is filing. So in filing, even a simple Filipino citizen can do such by the sponsorship or through the sponsorship of a congressman or the member of the House. So usually it is the congressman who filed the impeachment complaint. So the impeachment complaint originates or begins in the House of Representatives. So second is the referral to his speaker or the House Speaker. Next is the inclusion in order of business. So the order of business is the list of the agendas of the House, because we all know that the House of Representatives is one of the most busiest part of the government. And it is very important that the impeachment complaint would be included in the order of business. So next is the referral to the House Committee on Justice. After the referral to the House Committee on Justice, the committee would conduct hearings. So they would deliberate on the impeachment complaint, and after the findings of the committee, they would submit a report. So after the submission of report, the House would then vote on whether the complaint would proceed to the next and final level, in which the final level is the impeachment trial. So the impeachment trial is held at the Senate. So it is the last and final stage of impeachment. So the impeachment trial are the ones who would decide on whether the public officer would then be removed or not. So of course, this process of impeachment can be seen in the section 3 of the Article 11. So what are the effects of conviction? So of course, after the impeachment trial, that certain person would then be removed from office. So if he is the president, he would be removed, the vice president, a member of the Supreme Court, or the member of the Constitutional Commissions, or the Ombudsman. So second is the disqualification to hold any other office under the Republic of the Philippines. So after you have been impeached, you will not be allowed to run in any government post. So you will not be able to occupy any public seats anymore. So last is the party convicted shall be liable and subject to prosecution, trial, and punishment according to law. So after the trial, the court would make sure that those who had been found guilty would then be held accountable. So of course, it is also very important that we also know the agencies in the government that make those public officers accountable or liable under the Constitution. So first is the Sandigan Bayan. So this is one of the most popular office that conducts hearings or trials to the former or present public officers that commit such crimes. So one example is the pork barrel scam, in which the Sandigan Bayan conducts the trial for the former senators who are allegedly involved in the pork barrel scam. So what is the role of the Sandigan Bayan? The present AntiGraft Court, known as the Sandigan Bayan, shall continue to function and exercise its jurisdiction as now or hereafter may be provided by law. So the Sandigan Bayan is also known as the AntiGraft Court. So they conduct hearings involving graft and corruption. So that is the role of the Sandigan Bayan, as stated in the Article 11, Section 4. So there's also the Ombudsman. So the Ombudsman is also known as the Tanod Bayan ng Pilipinas, is responsible for investigating, prosecuting, Philippine government officials accused of crimes, especially graft and corruption. The Ombudsman are the ones who usually makes an action regarding the public officers that commits the crime of graft and corruption. So the role of the Sandigan Bayan and the Ombudsman is to make accountable those public officers that commits crimes, such especially the crime of graft and corruption, because we all know that graft and corruption is very well known in the Philippine politics, and these two agencies of the government are the ones who are responsible to make sure that the public officers are not committing such crime. So so these are the logo of the office of the Ombudsman, and the next is the Sandigan Bayan. So they are one of the most recognizable logos in the Philippine politics, because a lot of politicians had, not a lot but some of them had undergone trials or investigations by such agencies of the government, which is the Ombudsman and the Sandigan Bayan. So according to section 5, the office of the Ombudsman is composed of the Ombudsman, to be known as Tanod Bayan, one overall deputy, and at least one deputy for Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. A separate deputy for the military establishment may likewise be appointed. And according to section 6, the officials and employees of the office of the Ombudsman, other than the deputies, shall be appointed by the Ombudsman according to the Civil Service Law. So here are the qualifications for the Ombudsman and his deputies. So first, he or she shall be a natural-born citizen, at least 40 years old, of recognized probity and independence, a member of the Philippine Bar, and must not have been a candidate for any elective office immediately preceding election. It is based on the Section 8 of the Article 11. So, the Philippine Bar is a group of lawyers who pass the bar exam of the Philippines. So that is one of the qualifications of the Ombudsman and his deputies. So in this slide, we would know on how the deputies and the Ombudsman is likewise be appointed. So appointed by the President from a list of at least 6 nominees prepared by the Judicial and Bar Council, and from a list of at least 3 for every vacancy thereafter. All vacancies shall be filled within 3 months after they occur. So it is based on the Article 11, Section 9. So the term of office of the Ombudsman and deputies is approximately 7 years. So the term of office of the Ombudsman is 7 years without reappointment according to Section 11. So now we know that the Ombudsman and the deputy is appointed by the President, unlike the other employees of the office of the Ombudsman. They are appointed by the Ombudsman himself or herself. Unlike the Ombudsman and the deputies, they are appointed by the President, and the term of office is 7 years. So according to Section 12, the Ombudsman and his deputies as protectors of the people shall act promptly on complaints filed in any form or manner against public officials or employees of the government, or any subdivision, agency, or instrumentality thereof, including government-owned or controlled corporations, and shall, in appropriate cases, notify the complainants of the action taken and the result thereof. So in this slide, that is in accordance with the Section 12, we would know the duties or the purpose of the ombudsman, in which they are the protectors of the people, or they must protect the state or the public at all times, in which that is their duty, and they shall also act on the any issues regarding the public officials and employees of the government or its any subdivision or agency. So an appropriate action is necessarily made by the ombudsman regarding this matter. The powers or the limitations, the functions and duties of the ombudsman, it is provided in section 13. So first is to investigate on its own or on complaint by any person, any act or omission of any public official, employee, office or agency, when such act or omission appears to be illegal, unjust, improper, or inefficient. So that is one of the most primary goal of the ombudsman, to investigate. Second, direct upon complaint or all its own instance any public official or employee of the government or any subdivision, agency or instrumentality thereof, as well as of any government-owned or controlled corporation with original charter, to perform, expedite any act or duty required by law, or to stop, prevent, and correct any abuse or impropriety in the performance of duties. So it is the job of the ombudsman to make sure that all that is government-owned or government-owned corporations or instrumentality agencies are in accordance with the law that is provided by the Constitution. And next is to direct the officer concerned to take appropriate action against a public official or employee at fault, and recommend his removal, suspension, demotion, fine, censure, or prosecution, and ensure compliance therewith. So it is also the duty of the office of the ombudsman that the officer that is in charge to a certain department or agency of the government shall make his employees accountable if any mistakes had been made. That is in accordance, of course, with the law. So it is also the duty of the ombudsman to direct the officer concerned in any appropriate case and subject to such limitations as may be provided by law, to furnish it with copies of documents relating to contracts or transactions entered into by his office, involving the disbursement or use of public funds or properties, and report any irregularity to the Commission on Audit for appropriate action. So it is also their job to make sure that there is no irregularity when it comes to the disbursement or the use of public funds, and they would usually know that through the Commission on Audit. So they are the ones who instructed the officer in charge on what he will do regarding such matter and what actions are needed. So next is request any government agency for assistance and information necessary in the discharge of its responsibilities, and to examine, if necessary, pertinent records and documents. So they have exclusive access on all the records and documents in order for them to execute well their responsibility to investigate. So next is publicize public size matters covered by its investigation when circumstances so warrant and with due prudence. After the investigations they had conducted, they are or they have the right to issue a warrant or to make public the results of their investigations. So it is also their duty to determine the causes of inefficiency, red tape, mismanagement, fraud, and corruption in the government and make recommendations for their elimination and observance of high standards of ethics and efficiency. So, of course, as we have mentioned earlier, that a public office is a public trust. Therefore, a a standard a standard of ethics and morality should be sustained in the government agencies, and that is also one of the functions of the ombudsman to make sure that the standard of ethics exists within the government. So last is to promulgate its rules of procedure and exercise such other powers or perform such functions or duties as may be provided by law. So that are the powers, functions, and duties of the Ombudsman as provided in Article 11, Section 13. So next is Section 14. The Office of the Ombudsman shall enjoy fiscal autonomy. Its approved annual appropriations shall be automatically and regularly released. So, being in the Office of the Ombudsman, they enjoy such fiscal autonomy on which they can execute well their role as itanod ng bayan ng Pilipinas. So, Section 15. The right of the state to recover properties unlawfully acquired by public officials or employees from them or from their nominees or transferees shall not barred by prescription, laches, or estoppel. Section 16. No loan, guarantee, or other form of financial accommodation for any business purpose may be granted, directly or indirectly, by any government-owned, controlled bank or financial institution to the President, the Vice President, the members of the Cabinet, and the Congress, the Supreme Court, and the Constitutional Commissions, the Ombudsman, or to any firm or entity in which they have controlling interest during their tenure. So, it doesn't mean, so in this section 16 explains that being in the public office doesn't mean that you have all the exclusive rights on all the government properties or agencies. It only shows that there are limitations, and it should be known by those who are in the higher authority or those who are in power. So Section 17. A public officer or employee shall, upon assumption of office and as often thereafter as may be required by law, submit a declaration under oath of his assets, liabilities, and net worth. In the case of the President, the Vice President, the members of the Cabinet, the Congress, the Supreme Court, the Constitutional Commissions, and other constitutional offices and officers of the armed forces with general or flag rank, the declaration shall be disclosed to the public in the manner provided by law. So, the SALN, or the Statement of Assets, Liabilities, and Net Worth, is one of the most prominent features of the Office of the Ombudsman to make sure that the SALN is made public, and for us people to know regarding the assets and the net worth of our public officers, if they are too wealthy or they are not, And it is also for us to make sure that they are honest and they are sincere. It's because they are exposing what they have, and that is their primary duty as a public officer, to gain the trust of the public in order for them to maintain power. So, last is the Section 18. Public officers and employees owe the state and this Constitution allegiance at all times, and any public officer or employee who seeks to change his citizenship or acquire the status of an immigrant of another country during his tenure shall be dealt with by law.